Home sellers, nothing ruins your day faster than a terrible lowball offer. You get word there's an offer coming because everybody loves to tell you when there's an offer coming, and it finally arrives and you open it and then boom, it is way below asking. Well, we all know your first impulse in that situation, but we're here to help. So we've sold over 2,500 homes, roughly 50 times more than the average realtor. And today we're walking through how to handle lowball offers. So stick around and together we'll cover responding without losing your cool and how to weaponize those offers so you get top dollar for your home. All right, here we go. Welcome to Talking Realty, the podcast for home sellers who want to make more money, save time, and avoid headaches. I'm Glen Whitten, realtor and founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we do the same things as traditional realtors, but instead of charging a giant 6% commission, we do the same thing for a low, flat fee. So you keep more money and you still get better results. Check out all the free seller tools at talkingrealty.com. And if you love the show, hit the subscribe button. Now, let's get to it. Welcome back, home sellers. Let's see what our flat fee sellers did this week. We had 7 closings for a total of $3,043,000 in home sales. Total commissions saved for the week were $122,084 for an average of $17,440.57 per listing compared to what they would have paid if they had used a 6% traditional realtor. Now, what could you do with an extra 17 grand? Take a trip, maybe buy all the candy for Halloween, that is. I don't know. But first, you have to check out how we're doing things over here at OhioMLSFlatFee.com. Home sellers, before I was even licensed, I spent a lot of time at the RE/MAX office where I started out, and fortunately for me, a lot of people were letting me shadow, and I've talked a lot about over the years about the shadowing experiences I had. I had some good and some not so good, but interesting because you get that contrast. Well, I remember like yesterday, the very first time I got to go on an offer presentation. This was very exciting. It happened to be somebody I knew as well. So the seller, I wasn't licensed, so he wasn't my client, but my broker had the client, and the seller was a guy from town that I happen to know. So we get to his house, and I don't know anything really. I know about the listing, but I don't know anything about the offer because the guy who was letting me shadow didn't really share any of that, nor would he. He just said, hey, you want to go and see how an offer is presented. Back in the day, we got into a vehicle and we drove out to the seller's house and we sat down in their living room and we formally presented the offer. So the interesting thing was this turned out to be apparently a lowball offer. And I don't remember any of the numbers. I just remember it was far enough off, and I will never forget this. The seller, whose name is Chris, he stood up and said, can I see that? Now you're talking about, a very lengthy document that at that time was all on paper, handwritten, triplicate, the tear off copies and all that stuff. And it was a fairly, thick little set of documents, just the offer. He was like, can I just see that real quick? So the guy I'm shadowing hands it to him, and he goes over and he's walking around and he's looking at it, and he walks straight over to his kitchen garbage can. And it was one of those with the flap lids. He stepped on the flap, it opened the lid. He tore it in half and threw it and shoved it down in. Like, he didn't just throw it in the garbage can. He shoved it down in there, like with the coffee grounds and banana peels. I was hugely entertained. And it was kind of like watching Fallon on Saturday Night Live. I just couldn't keep a straight face, but I did my best because I knew that the guy I went there with was going to tear me apart if I didn't. But anyway, I had no skin in the game, but as entertaining as it was also very informative. So if this sounds familiar to you, that you've gone through all the work of getting your property ready, and you've gone through the choice of finding a broker to help you market it, and you get it out there, and the broker no doubt called him to say, hey, look, I've got an offer. I'd like to come over and present it. And I don't know what they talked about ahead of time because I wasn't around for that part, but I can glean from his response that Chris wasn't expecting this. Okay, truth number 3, emotions are expensive. And if you let frustration lead, not only will you not get this buyer, but you could blow it. You could blow a deal that you might get with that person, maybe not, but you also give up a whole bunch of leverage that you could use to maybe bring that buyer or another buyer back to the table or to the table in the first place. And today I want to walk you through, first of all, a little bit of why a lowball offer, as much as it aggravates sellers, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just not. Throughout this episode, I'm going to take you through my sort of 3-step plan for getting you from lowball offer to much better offer, and then eventually, hopefully, a bidding war. We can and do leverage low offers into multiple offers. So today, I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So back to the why it's not the worst thing in the world is that, and I really hate to do this to you, low offers are better than no offers. All right. The market is completely littered with properties that have been out there for weeks, months, sometimes years, with zero offer activity. Zero. Not one single nibble. So the fact that you're getting an offer tells me that you're at least within some sort of range for at least a segment of buyers. So if you were completely out of the ballpark, way overpriced, you would get no offers at all. None. You'd be sitting around, if you're like most sellers, thinking up all these reasons that have nothing to do with your price as to why you're not getting any offers. And you'd probably be wrong in most cases. If you got any showings at all or any interest at all outside of your friends and neighbors, you're going to get maybe some polite tire kickers. You're going to get the, oh, what a lovely home you have. And oh, I'm so sorry, it just doesn't fit our needs. Okay, in other words, you're overpriced. But feedback is different because most people won't say price. Now, we specifically ask everybody who shows our listings what they thought of the price, because I already know what they're thinking because they didn't make an offer. Right? We've talked about this before. If it was priced at $1, somebody would buy it, including the person who had enough interest to take time out of their schedule and go look at it. And let's even go a step further back, including the person who was scrolling online through hundreds and hundreds of listings and stopped and clicked on your property. That person would also buy it under the right circumstances. Now, they may not want to live there, but they would at least make an offer, and they've got something going. So we know somewhere between $1 and whatever you're asking is the real price. The lowball offer gets us closer. It might not be the right market value, but at least it gets us on the right track. And the fact that you've got the offer means you've got a live one. You've got at least one buyer who is presumably ready and willing and able to purchase the property under the circumstances outlined in the offer. There are a handful of reasons, maybe 4 or 5 reasons why a buyer would submit a low offer. So let's flip the mirror here, because I have many, many sellers over the years who have said, oh, if it's the price, why don't they just make an offer? Okay, well then, not to be a little whiner here, but then they do make an offer and the seller's first response is, what are they thinking? All right, well, buyers know this. And if they're seriously interested in the property, they're clearly willing to take that risk. They may just be testing. They could be just fishing for the bottom because some YouTube video, yes, I get the irony of that, because some YouTube video said it was a good idea. And we all know this. If you want an approach for anything, somebody on YouTube has a version, and then 7,000 other people have another version, and they're all right. Just so you know, just want you to know, everybody's on YouTube is right. Sometimes, if they're not just testing, maybe they're first timers. Maybe they're getting advice from friends or family or a terrible agent who doesn't know how to negotiate. So that could be it. But don't necessarily take your flamethrower out on the buyer. They could be guessing. Maybe they see that your days on market are a little more than what they would expect for this property. And so they're taking a flyer just to see what, I don't know what you'll take. You said make an offer, and maybe you even said that to them in an open house. I don't know. But the bottom line is you can't take it personally. This is just business, okay? Buyers rarely make offers on homes they don't want. So that's the good news here. You've got a buyer. They're definitely interested in your house because I suspect there's more than one property around you for sale in your price range, or at least near your price range. So we can talk all day about, well, why are they shopping so far below their budget? Or what are they doing? Are they trying to aggravate me? Or blah, blah, blah. And the answer to all those things is probably not. And we don't know. So let's just not worry about it, because what if all of these things were true? What if they are trying to aggravate you? Well, so what? You don't have to marry these people. You just have to strike a deal with these people. This is business. So do your best. I know it's difficult, but remember, truth number 3, emotions are expensive. And here's another, this isn't a truth, but it should be. Ego doesn't pay the bills, right? This isn't a contest over who's the better negotiator. I guess in reality, it kind of is, but that's not the end game. Do you really want the big certificate that says best negotiator if the deal never closes? No, of course not. The goal is to sell. It's not to win. So would you rather be rich or would you rather be right? One of my favorite phrases. And you'd be shocked at how many people will choose right over rich. I'm often stunned almost daily by the people that I run into in this business or in my life that would rather win the argument than win the deal. But anyway, so put your pride aside, get strategic, and stay focused on the goal. And don't worry, I've got a plan for you. Hey folks, almost every seller I know has at least a few questions about the process, which is why we offer a totally free, no obligation, one-on-one strategy call for anyone with a property to sell in Ohio. On the call, we'll help you plan your listing launch, nail down your price, make sure you're ready for offers, inspections, appraisals, even starting a bidding war. Check the show notes or the YouTube comments, or just head to talkingrealty.com and book your free call now. Seriously, hit the pause button, do it now. You know you have questions, and let's get you on the right track. All right, back to the show. So I promised you a plan, and here's the plan. You get that lowball offer. First of all, go out and kick a pillow or something, do something, get all the emotion out. Okay. Let's not talk to anybody in the deal who matters while you're feeling this. So I don't know what your Zen moment is. Mine, you're going to be shocked by this, but it's ice cream. Sorry, there it is. I said it. So whether this is the first offer you've ever gotten, or you've gotten 2 or 3 of these lowball offers, I don't really care, because it's the same playbook. Anytime we see one of these stinko offers, including iBuyers, we've talked about these before on the podcast, but iBuyers are corporations who do algorithms. They don't even look at the property. They just fire off a terrible offer. And this applies. That's a trigger. Okay. So first step, hold your tongue after you get your ice cream. Hold your tongue. Then we do a whisper campaign. So I don't want you to react emotionally. In fact, other than thanking this buyer for their offer and letting them know you'll be in touch, I don't really want you to talk to these people, maybe ever again, but you will at least acknowledge that you got it and that you'll be in touch. This allows you to calm down. And if we get no other buyers out of all the activity I'm about to give you, then we can go back to these folks with a reasonable counter, and maybe we get something going. But let's squeeze every drop of usefulness out of this offer while we can. All right. So the whisper campaign is just you reaching out to anybody who's ever looked at it, who's ever showed it, who's ever stopped by, anybody you've had contact with at an open house, anything like that. Hopefully you're keeping a running list of everybody who's ever given you their contact information. Even if they tell you, hey, I'm not interested, doesn't matter. They still get it because they were interested enough at one point to at least raise their hand. So you're going to go ahead, keep them on a list. You're not going to bug them. You're not going to bug them over and over. So the whisper campaign email goes out to that list, and it just says in essence, hey, you looked at this property or you asked about this property, whatever. And I just wanted to let you know we do have an offer in case you were thinking about making a move, or if it's to realtors, in case your buyer was thinking of making a move. And then again, if you have moved on, no problem. Just figured I'd let you know. Or if your buyer has moved on, no problem. Just figured I'd let you know. Thanks. Have a great day. That's it. You're just simply being nice. You're giving them a quick heads up. That's all you're doing. You're not asking for an update. You're not asking them to set up another showing. Don't do it. I know you. I know you're going to want to stick in there. Hey, if you want to see it again, you're not doing that. Pretend that you've sold 100,000 homes, and at least a percentage of them, every time you put it under contract, 4 or 5 people fall out of the woodwork and they're mad at you because you didn't tell them. Why didn't you tell me you had an offer? These are the people that you're going after. Well, actually, you're going after everybody. But this is the mindset you're using. That's why you're doing it, because you got burned, you got yelled at by somebody for not letting them know, for not giving them a heads up when you got an offer. Some buyers and agents will even say that, hey, if you get an offer, give me a heads up. Just pretend they're all saying it, okay? There's no reason not to send it. So you do the whisper campaign. And you can truthfully say, by the way, to anyone you're talking to, assuming you're getting activity at an open house, through showings, or just agents or buyers reaching out to you, what do they often ask? Hey, you got any offers? Hey, what's going on with this property? How's the activity? You can now truthfully say, yes, we do have an offer, but we haven't signed anything. Here's the kicker. How much time do you think you need? Because remember, we're in the mindset of somebody who's overrun with great offers, who's probably about to announce a highest and best deadline. That's where I need your head. Because if you're in the, this is the only activity we've gotten in 4 months space, you're going to have that anxiety breath all over you, and you're going to put it out in every text, email, and conversation you're going to have. We can't be having that. We can't do that. So we have to get back to, oh my gosh, I'm overrun with activity and offers. I'm just trying to be a nice person. Then somebody in the middle of all that sends you a message and says, hey, we can't come till tomorrow. So do you have any offers? You can say, yeah, we do have an offer. How long do you think you'll need? Any chance you can sneak in today? I mean, tomorrow's probably fine. Like, this is who you are. This is the person you're dealing with. All right. And are you lying? Absolutely not. You are negotiating. You are creating some theater around the legitimate fact that you have an offer on the table. Eventually, you're going to set an offer deadline. If I get enough activity off of this, by the way, I'm going to go ahead, even if I don't have any other offers, if I've got showings starting to come up, I'm starting to get the leading questions from my whisper campaign or just in general, I'm going to pull the trigger on an offer deadline. I know this sounds nuts. I get it. You've had nothing. And then all of a sudden, you got this crappy offer, and now Glenn is telling you to act like all the world wants your house. That is accurate. If that's what you're thinking, you, my friend, are reading me perfectly, because that's what I want. If you have no other activity, even if you have no other activity, it's okay. Set the offer deadline the next day, because you know who's going to see it? The person who sent you that lowball offer. And I'm going to make sure they see it. They're going to see it in a couple of ways. They're not going to get your whisper campaign because you've already got their offer, but they are going to see it publicly, because one of the ways you announce an offer deadline, and I've done podcast episodes, total deep dives on offer deadline weaponization. So go get those. Maybe we can link to those in the show notes. So you're going to set the deadline, and it's vague. It's always vague. It's going to be for Sunday night, not a date, not a time. It's just Sunday night. The seller's calling for highest and best Sunday night. That's it. That's all you're going to say. The thing about these offer deadlines, especially when you're essentially generating them out of whole cloth, which is what you're doing, is you have to sell it. This is where, you know, as a seller, if your emotions are keyed up, you may not be able to pull this off, but I think you can. I believe in you. And if you're in Ohio, you should just hire us and let us do it for you, because we don't have these emotional hangups. But anyway, you have to sell it, and the activity level that you're presenting to the market has to be believable. So we don't talk about one buyer ever. We always talk about the buyers. When you're sending this out, when you send out your offer deadline announcement, I love to do another heads up campaign. So you can do it in the public remarks, and you should. If you're going to do an offer deadline and you're in the MLS, put it in the public and private remarks. Offer deadline, highest and best by Sunday night. And that's all you're going to write. Nothing more, nothing less. That should generate questions from fence sitting buyers. And when the questions come in, you get to say nothing other than, yes, it's true. We have an offer. We haven't signed anything. Yes, we do. Do you have offers? Yes. We just haven't signed anything yet. How long do you need? Well, how high are they? How good are they? Naturally, I can't get into that. How long do you think you're going to need? Like, you just have no time for these. You're going to be polite, but you have no time for all this. Okay. You don't need to ever. In fact, it doesn't suit you to tell them who the offer's from, how much it was for, what are the terms. Oh, do your offers have any inspections? That's the agent trying to tell you they might make an offer that doesn't have it. They're just fishing for details to help their client. That doesn't serve you. You want to respond with the truth, but as vaguely as possible. So it's, do you have offers? Yes. How long do you need? Do you have offers that don't have inspections? Naturally, I can't get into that. How much time do you think you're going to need? Just need your highest and best. We'll put them together with all the others. Just that same, put it on loop. Okay. I'm not going to tell you anything. You don't have to tell them that, but you can tell them that by just continuing to repeat the same thing. Yep. We have until Sunday night. Well, how good are the offers? Are they above list? Are they cash? Are they this? Naturally, I can't get into that. So how long do you think you're going to need? I'm going to need your highest and best by Sunday, blah, blah, blah. You're just going to keep going back to the well for that. Don't reveal details, even if you think they're going to help you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Make them put their best foot forward. All right. Eventually, you're going to either get no other offers, or you're going to get some offers, or your original buyer is going to see all this activity. And when you announce your offer deadline, you're going to go back to that buyer, your original lowball offer buyer, and say, hey, just thought I'd let you know, we've decided to announce an offer deadline for Sunday night. I'm going to assume this is your highest and best offer, but if not, please let me know. All right. You're flipping the psychological script on them. So I need you to do that when you announce. Go back to your original offer or offers if you have multiples and let them know, hey, we're announcing a highest and best offer deadline for Sunday night. I'm assuming I have your highest and best offer, but if not, just let me know. If you want to update the offer, let me know. What's the message there? The real message is, if you could do better, you probably should do it now. Some people will call your bluff and walk away. And if they were a crappy offer, okay, you were never getting together with them anyway. And here's the other thing about people who flake out during the offer process. The offer process is a cakewalk compared to the rest of the process. If they're flaky during the offer, they're not making it to closing. People do not fall further in love with the property between the offer and closing. Now, once they move in, absolutely. But between offer and closing, it goes the other way. All right. They all start doubting, did I make the right decision? Even hardened investors. Oh man, did I overpay for that thing? What about this? What about that? What about this one? It's a very rare day when a buyer makes an offer and then doesn't have some sort of mental wrestling match going on in their head. So come back to them. And if they flake out, that's okay. What's the point of all this? The point of all this is that Truth 11, nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. And you need to keep projecting, always projecting that you have a line of buyers out the back. You're not going to say that unless it's true. And even if it is true, I'd be careful. But that's the approach you're taking. So let's say you've got a decent offer, but it's not quite what you want. Okay, then fine. So let's say you've got a decent offer that shows up on Friday because of your activity that you've been doing. You're whispering it out, you're doing this, you're still doing showings, but you're still not at the offer deadline. So the sooner before the offer deadline, the better with this. So you announce the offer deadline. Hey, I'm assuming we've got your best offer, blah, blah, blah. If not, update me. Wait a few hours and then go back to them. If this is your strongest buyer and you think they have a reasonable chance of getting to your numbers that would make you your dream offer, that would get you where you want to go, that you would say yes and sign and move ahead, this is what you do. You go back to that buyer and say, hey, we're still pouring through what's coming in on this property. I love that phrase. I use it a lot. And we're just about ready to announce an offer deadline. But if you can do this, price, terms, whatever needs to change, we will skip all that and we'll go with your offer. All right, you have now given them every reason. You've told them that you're going to announce an offer deadline. Well, what insane person does that unless they have multiple offers? Of course, they have multiple offers and a lot of buyers, but they're willing to skip all that, make you the winner. You got the inside track. We're going to make you the winner, but I just need you to tweak these things. Okay. Try it. You have nothing to lose. And it's not lying. This is negotiating. This is theater, because truth number 11, nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to paint the picture that is a giant crowd of starving buyers right behind me, and I'm coming to you. Now, let's say you do all of this and nothing works. No problem, because you're still going to go back to your first buyer. If you haven't announced a deadline or you get no other activity and you've done your polite response when they first sent it in, hey, thanks for the offer. Let me know if you have any questions. My other favorite all-time stupid move by sellers, do not come back to them and say, oh, well, you don't like my price? Well, how about I tack on 20,000? You came out with a low ball offer. I'm going to come at you with this ridiculous high offer. Okay, that doesn't serve anyone. Doesn't serve anyone. Your job is to keep the door open. So even if the buyer's first offer is ridiculous, I want you to respond with a calm, fact-based counter. You can even include comps if you want. Let's go back at them with numbers. You're not saying they're wrong. You're not saying you're right. You're saying, look at the comps. This is how we made our decision. Right or wrong, this is how we did it. So you're going to justify your price using comps. It shows professionalism. It recenters the conversation to reality in case they really were way off base. But if you can't sell this buyer, this lowball offer on an abundance of activity and an offer deadline, if you just don't have it in you to do that, then this is your move. Thanks for the offer. We're a little ways apart, even if you're a country mile apart. We're a little ways apart. But Here's where we need to be based on recent sales and the home's condition. Okay, again, this isn't about you. Do not bring up the word fair. Just don't do it. You're going to want to. We think this is a fair offer. What you're saying is, we think your offer was unfair. Well, unfair to who? Okay, so just don't go down that road. You're injecting emotions back in. Our job is to scrub them out. That's what this is about. Thanks for your offer. We're a little ways apart, but here's where we need to be. Need, not want, need to be based on recent sales and the home's condition. That's it. Then you just bullet point out your changes. Price, whatever terms, possession, whatever it is that's eating away at you from their offer. That alone is going to filter out any tire kickers. Any serious buyers are going to come back to you with something real. It may not be what you asked for, but it probably won't be what they submitted. And you'd be shocked how many people come way up. Once you re-anchor them, you anchored them with your list price, you're going to re-anchor them with your response. I wouldn't make it list price and everything you're already advertising. You all have a little room to wiggle. We know that. Come down a little, even, just come down a little. Another hint, get face-to-face if you can. It is so crazy how mean buyers can be, even if it's on FaceTime. But ideally, a lot of magic happens when you get them in the house and you sit them down at the kitchen table, you pour a little coffee, cookies might not hurt, but everybody becomes a human again. It's not just people shooting numbers through electronic mail. So you don't need to be a slick super salesperson. You just need to be sincere. Talk it out. It's a lot harder for buyers to be a jerk in person. And if they are, okay, great. Karma's going to catch up to them. But if they show up, you've got a very legitimate chance of sitting down, yellow legal pad and pen, and saying, hey, what do we need to do to make this work? And before you get in there, because you're just as susceptible to starting to like the buyer. So make sure you know your numbers, make sure you know your terms. What are you willing to do so you don't get all emotional and caught up and, have it go really well or really horribly for the buyer. Another move is the walk away. This is for people when this is your initial response too. This is not, I tried to counter and we couldn't come together. Okay. That's, you shot your shot. If they don't come around, then move on. Okay. Leverage all you can from them, but then let them go. Do not follow up with them every week asking if they're interested. Just let them go. If they're interested, they'll come back to you. But on your initial, if you think you're just way too far, there's no way it's going to happen, but for whatever reason you think they're interested, maybe they physically showed up. I'm not talking about investors you've never met that just fire off offers. This doesn't work on them. But if they came to the house, they genuinely seem to like it, but for whatever reason they came in low, you can pull the walk away, but it's a bluff. It's a real bluff. So you start with some empathy, something like, thank you for your offer. We really appreciate it. It looks like, however, we may be too far apart, but just in case, here's where we need to be. Like, you're not trying to insult them. This is the softest approach that has one of the bigger impacts. So again, we're too far apart. I don't really think this is going to work, but just in case, here you go. So maybe that approach feels better for you than all the other stuff or the hardcore, hey, let's make it work. But the point of all this is I need you to go back to them. I need you to make a sincere, honest counter offer, even if they tear it up and shove it down in the garbage can at their house. One of the ways you can avoid that, though, is maybe while you're coming back to them, is genuinely find something you like about the offer, if possible, and explain why you're even bothering, because they're going to maybe smell a little desperation if they make a ridiculous offer and then you try to engage them in a negotiation versus telling them to get lost. But you might say something like, oh, we love that you're cash. We love that you can close quick. Something like that. A compliment before you address the price may help your situation. Home sellers, this episode of Talking Realty is brought to you by our friends over at Associates Title. This team is shaking things up by focusing on what really matters, which is putting you, the customer, first. So whether you're buying or selling, whether you're investing, whether you're for sale by owner or working with a realtor, they've got your back with incredible cost savings and the latest technology to streamline the process. Their secure online portal keeps everyone in the loop, from buyers and sellers to lenders and agents, all while keeping your data safe, super important, and keeping the communication crystal clear. So if you're getting ready to make a move, don't underestimate the power and the importance of having a great title company in your corner. Check them out today at associatestitleinc.com or call my friend Ryan Phillips at 614 419-2418. By the way, they operate in many states, not just Ohio, so give them a call. But do not leave your title company choice to chance, and definitely don't let the buyer or their agent make that choice for you. All right, back to the show. Another thing to remember when it comes to dealing with offers, and I talk about this a lot, is to focus on the net, not the top line. Don't think about your pride of, well, I tried it for 400, I only sold it for 380. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What matters is, what am I going to walk away with? Because a great offer with a bunch of fat in it, like seller concessions and huge commissions, and I need you to finance me for 10 years, like all of that just makes it a terrible offer. Even though on number, you're like, I sold my house for 420. Okay, well, bully for you, but who's laughing now? Probably the buyer. So forget about the top line number. I really want you to focus on the bottom line. And if there's no agent on the buyer side, you're talking about an instant 3 to maybe 5 or 6% boost in your bottom line. If the buyer wants closing costs, you just raise your counter to offset them. I need you focused in on the net. So many times when an offer comes in, sellers lose sight of the fact that they're not here to make the ultimate deal. They're here to get a check or a wire at closing for the property they're selling. That's what really matters. I'm giving you the deed. I'm walking away with this amount. So don't worry about all the stuff that's in between the top line and your net. Focus on getting your net where it needs to be. And the last thing I'll tell you on this whole issue of what to do is that the market never lies. Truth number one, the market never, ever lies. If you get one lowball offer, it could be a phishing, it could be any of the reasons we talked about earlier. But if you get 3 or 4 offers, not from corporations, but from individual human beings that showed up, looked at the property and made an offer, that's probably not a coincidence. That might be a message. The market is telling you what it really thinks. You don't have to like it, and you don't even have to agree with it, but you should listen. You can wait for the market. We tell every seller that if you're unhappy with your activity, you're overpriced, and that's okay. That's okay. If you're okay waiting, if you really have to sell now, well, then you're going to have to get with the times because the market is speaking. You can choose to ignore it and wait, or you can choose to react. Keep lowering your price until you get the activity where it needs to be. Changing your agent isn't going to matter. If you have great photos, unless they're horribly outdated, changing your photos isn't going to change anything. Rearranging a few words in your property description, not going to matter. Those things will get you tiny incremental lifts. But if no one ever clicks on your property because it's overpriced, no one's ever going to see all that stuff anyway. At the end of all of this, the real benefits of this process is that, one, you don't make a fool of yourself, even in private, and you're going to feel bad about it later, probably, if you're being honest with yourself. But sellers who respond to every offer from a practical perspective, sellers who stay calm, they get paid. That's just how it works. Sellers who respond to every offer, even the low ones, are the ones who sell first and usually get more going, especially if they work the playbook. But anger shuts all that off. And before long, agents they're going to talk, because that's basically all they do. They're going to talk, and they're going to figure out that the person who's selling that particular property, no fun to deal with. And you do not want that reputation. Counter offers, on the other hand, telegraphs to the market, hey, this is what I would do. This is where I'm at today. This is what I'm looking for today. And negotiation is nothing more than emotional judo. There's a great book out there called Verbal Judo that's been out, I don't know, it's probably 30 or 40 years old, but it's a great book. And it talks about, instead of being combative, you're going to, a la judo, you're going to work with emotion that's already happening. So when you stay rational and you stay professional, you shift all that control from them to you. Buyers can't push your buttons. They try. There's a lot of psychology sometimes in an offer, and not all of it's positive. Some of it's meant to soften you up by making you mad. So don't let them. And when you don't let buyers push your button, it's going to make them trust you even more or respect you. And that will stretch farther than you ever planned. That will do so much good for you. And before you counter, make sure you run your numbers. We talked about the net, but know your real bottom line. Know your numbers, know the terms that are important to you and that are ranked. And it's not just about price. So we can help that. We've got a free seller net sheet that we offer. Just head to our website and you'll find it. It's not hard to find. And we do lots and lots of free estimates for people. Like, hey, if I sell it for this on this such and such a date, we ask you a couple of questions. We hand you a pretty detailed net sheet that will help you when you go to negotiate. But at the end of it, remember, emotions are expensive and nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. But if you stay calm, you're going to be more likely to keep the deal alive and keep the conversation going. If you respond with facts, a little theater, and confidence, you'll either bring the buyer up or you're going to flush out the pretenders and the people who are time wasters. Either way, you win. And you get to leverage each one of those lowball offers into perhaps motivating the real buyer to step forward, come through the smoke, and let's talk. Keep your cool, keep your focus, keep your money. And with that, I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you learned a little something, maybe had some fun. The Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned company where we sell homes in Ohio for a low, flat fee. If you've got a question, a guest, or a topic for a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. Just head to talkingrealty.com and say hello. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Whitten signing off. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.